Okay, Tom. Tom, we are live.
Good.
Good. Yeah. Good day from Wall Street. Jack Marks for Wall Street Reporter, and today I am speaking with Mr. Tom Drivas. He is the CEO of Appia Energy. The stock symbol is APAAF, over the counter, API, and the CSE. And of course, many of you watched Tom's presentation last week in the Discovery Day live stream event. We had some great participation, and today we're going to do a quick follow-up with Tom, maybe answer some audience questions and get the latest. So Tom, welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you for making the time here.
Tom, what's what for anybody that's new to the story? What does Appia Energy do? I know you're in the technology metal space, and maybe you could explain what that is and what are the projects you're involved with?
Jack, that's a very good question. Appia is a junior Canadian exploration company. We've been in business for at least the last 12 years. We're in two areas. We've got the uranium resources and rare earth, which is basically we're in the technology metals. Basically, we've got critical rare earths in our projects.
So the projects? Well, first of all, maybe you can talk about like what is why is there like so much? I mean, I think uranium people kind of have an idea of what that's used for, but in terms of rare earths, what are the uses of that in today's world?
That's a very good question, Jack. The rare earths, especially critical rare earths, are known as technology metals. They're used in high technology. One of the latest applications is electric vehicles. It's telecommunications, windmill operations, and this is big right now. Robotics. It's also used in aerospace, defense. So you can be in high tech. You can operate in high tech without having rare earths, critical rare earths, basically. So that's it's a new it's a rare earths will be used in all the advanced technology applications.
Especially with the electric vehicle boom, where I guess it's starting now, but it's going to get really big. This is going to be a critical component for the batteries. Is that right?
Jack, the electric vehicle market is here. Last year they produced 2-3 million vehicles. In the next 5-10 years, they're projecting it will be producing up to 30 million vehicles, around 30 million vehicles a year. So the rare earths are used not so much in the batteries, but in the motors. They're used in permanent magnets, neodymium, praseodymium, and that's where, for example, Tesla used neodymium, praseodymium magnets, permanent magnets, and they were able to increase the distance on that the cars can do, and then the other component is obviously is the batteries, but our critical rare earths are basically used in terms of electric vehicles, is used in the motors and also in other parts of the electric vehicles. So and as you know, Tesla in the last 12-14 months, their stock price went up 14 times, up to 14 times. It's as recent, it's the highest in terms of valuation. Is the number one car company in the world. Basically, it's in terms of market valuation, and it is it's something that the the electric vehicle space is going to basically it's on fire, and it's not only that people will buy electric vehicles, but North America, Europe, China, India, Brazil, they have mandated the electric vehicles. So in the next few years, 5-10 years, you will see everybody's going to be looking at buying an electric vehicle. You won't have a lot of choice.
So the future is bright for the rare earth metals.
Very, very much so. For example, the 2 or 3 critical ones that are used in the permanent magnets for the electric vehicles, neodymium, praseodymium, are the electric vehicle industry right now uses about 20-21% of the neodymium, praseodymium in terms of world yearly production. In the next few years, just the electric vehicle space, it will basically would need to use the entire supply of neodymium, praseodymium to sort of being able to sort of manufacture all the vehicles that they need. So it's a mega trend, and it's starting, and the time is now.
Right, and you're also, involved in uranium. You're exploring for uranium, and I think, and it kind of all fits in because, if you have this, boom in electric vehicles, they all depend on, electricity, and really, it's going to be nuclear energy is really the cheapest form of energy, and it's actually probably the cleanest form of energy. That it's going to be a necessity.
For sure, uranium is produce reliable, clean energy and at reasonable costs. And now the industry is looking at sort of better reactors, safer reactors, smaller reactors. So and as you mentioned, with technology and electric vehicles, we need it's the new oil, basically the new oil for the electric vehicles. So the world will need more energy, and the one way to produce clean, environmentally friendly energy is uranium. So we think it's going to be the uranium industry will be picking up also.
Yeah, the uranium, there's been more interest right now in uranium stocks. I think with the uranium prices have been moving up. There's all of a sudden there's been some decent activity. I mean, there was a huge bull market in uranium a couple of years back.
There was a huge market a few years back, and then after the Fukushima issue, the Japanese basically stopped all the other reactors. And now they're sort of bringing them back, but most of the mines that produce uranium right now, they're producing it at below cost or at cost. They're not making any money. Companies are not exploring. There aren't many companies exploring for uranium. So we do have a situation where the supply is not going to be there, and the demand is growing. So we think the uranium space will start coming back again, and I think there's going to be appreciation there also. But
yeah. I've read some reports by some pretty sophisticated. There's a couple of very sophisticated hedge fund guys here in the U.S. who are they've been really building up positions like in uranium stocks. I mean, they've kind of laid out a case, and if you go online, I think you can see there's a couple of guys who are extremely bullish on uranium. They think there's a potential for uranium to go up 10x from where it is right now.
Well, the spot price, Jack, for uranium came down to around $20, $22 in the last few months. It has gone up to $32, $34. So yes, a lot of the funds and investors, they they have been looking at adding up uranium stocks to their portfolio. Now, Appia has a huge uranium resource and a rare earth resource in Ontario. Got another project, and we basically have about 55 million pounds of uranium in both about 8 million in indicated and about the rest is in fair category. And then we've got about 180 million in both categories of rare earths. So basically, we've got about 70 million shares outstanding, 73 million shares outstanding, and we've got for every outstanding share, we've got about 3 pounds or more of uranium and rare earths in resource. Which we're looking at, and so we see Appia as a call on uranium and rare earth prices. So because we're trading at right now we're trading around 15 cents US per share, and there's a resource in Ontario in a safe place with 3 pounds of uranium and rare earths. But we have been working more on Alces Lake, a project that we have in northern Saskatchewan. And this is an extremely high-grade critical rare earths that we've seen on surface, and we've been working there for two, 3 years. We have been focusing on that project more and more because what's happening with the rare earth space and the technology metals and the critical rare earths. The supply of rare earths is primary. Current supply is basically China that supplies anywhere from 60 to 90% of the rare earths and metals and magnets. For example, they provide the permanent magnets that is used on the electric vehicles. The supply is 90% from China. And that's and there's only a couple other major supplier from outside of China, but and that has created a lot of, especially with all this trade issues that we have between U.S. and China, that's created a lot of uncertainty and uncomfort level for the industry outside of China. So,
they 90%. China produces 90% of the rare earth.
No, they produce about 60 to 80% of the rare earths, but 90% of the permanent magnets that is used in electric vehicles. So so basically, it's not only the rare earths are not only critical, but they're very strategic. For the first time since 1940s and 1950s, the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, have started giving out and looking at giving out grants and assistance to rare earth industry to jumpstart or to create supply and processes and production of rare earths in the U.S. And they have signed an agreement with Canada. This is the first time since they put out money for the atomic bomb, for the uranium, and actually Appia, the two areas that we have the uranium and the rare earths, they were producing uranium and some rare earths those days. In the Alces Lake, Ontario, they produced uranium for the U.S. government, and also the project that we have in Saskatchewan is near Uranium City. There were 17 mines that produced uranium, and that uranium went to the U.S.
Okay.
So there is a big push here from the U.S. government, the Canadian government, from all the governments outside of China to have their own supply outside of China, their own supply at home, basically, of critical metals. You got to see it this way, Jack. If you dominate the critical supply, the supply of critical metals, of technology metals, you'll be dominating the high tech for the in the world, basically, right? So it is very, very crucial that there is some supply that is developed outside of China. Um, Especially not only is used in high tech, but is used in defense, the defense industry, and there's some recent reports that China will restrict or reduce the supply of rare earths or critical material to Lockheed Marietta. So there's basically big issues that we got to deal with.
So yeah, so the situation is bullish for the rare earth space. So Tom, so let's talk a little bit more about the project. So you have the big project. Is the main focus of investors on this Alces Lake?
At this point, yes. We like to concentrate on Alces Lake because what we've seen so far on surface, Jack, we've seen unusually great, unusually high grades of rare earths and critical rare earths. We basically have grades up to 50% right on zones on surface and near surface on Alces Lake, that the project in northwestern Saskatchewan. And we also seen a lot of other occurrences on the property. It's a huge property. It's about 34 or 35,000 acres. And we're only looked at a small area. Now, a few years back, like about 10 years back, China had restricted the supply of rare earths to Japan and to the rest of the world. So the price of rare earths went from 10 times, 50 times basically increased. And a lot of people were looking for uranium and rare earth projects, a lot of companies. At that time, Appia looked for some prospective properties. So we picked up this Alces Lake property in northwestern Saskatchewan. The following year, the Saskatchewan government geologists looked at all the province, the entire rare earth projects in the province, and went on our property, picked up samples up to 27% rare earths. The following year, they went back again. They were picking up more samples, high-grade samples, and then we started exploring ourselves, and we've got some in the last 2-3 years that would be highly active on the project. We got 6-7 zones that, with the average grades of total rare earths of about 16% over the 7-8 zones that we've seen. So it's a one of a kind project. Like Jack Linton, one of the experts in the U.S.
I read somewhere that this project that you have is like one of the highest grades in the world. So Tom, can you talk about what Jack Lifton is saying about you?
He's basically he's seen our results and pictures of our mineralization on surface, and he basically thinks, and he told us that this is this is one of a kind. He hasn't seen anywhere monazite up to 80-85% monazite right on surface. It's not, and he's not the only expert. We've shown our mineralization to SGS, for example, one of the largest lab in the world that does a lot of sampling for assaying for rare earths and also a lot of work for rare earth projects. And they basically told us it's one of a kind. They haven't seen anything like it. So why we're excited, very excited, Jack, and we're concentrating on that one is because it's so high grade that it can compete against the Chinese projects and the rest of the world. What has happened in the past with China being the main supplier, and China being a non-market economy, right? Like they if they can, if they feel that they will not be able to compete with a project, they can drop the price of the rare earths for, let's say, for a year, and they can force force you out of business. But we feel that what we've seen with this project here, if we can get it to the next level, we can compete with basically anybody.
So I guess for most investors, they'll look at the stock, and I guess what they really want to know is, okay, so the market cap right now is about what, 15 million, right?
About 10 million US right now.
Oh, 10 million US. It just went on sale, so $10 million US. And what is? I mean, what could this project be worth? I mean, what do you know is the assets of a company between the rare earths, Alces Lake, between the Toronto uranium? I mean, what's the upside here in dollar terms?
Okay, that's a difficult question. I'd like to, I'd like to foretell the future, but it's really hard. But I will give you an example. Okay, MP Materials. It's a company that U.S. company that has a similar deposit in California, and they're doing an IPO. They're planning an IPO in the next few months, and the perceived market cap would be $1.5 billion US dollars. So our market cap is 10 million. It's less than 1% of their market cap. Our project, the Alces Lake project, in terms of grades, it's better. It's a lot higher grade than their project. So there's a lot of upside. Obviously, when it comes to rare earths, Jack, I just want to clarify one thing. There's a few deposits out there in the world. Some of them don't have the grade, but grade is one thing. Like, you have to have a high grade, but also the rare earths is not a question of mining. The mining is easy. It's because there's 16 different elements in the rare earths, so there's a lot of processing involved. And some of those deposits, they have the rare earths in different minerals, in 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 different minerals. So the processing, the extraction of rare earths is very complex. When I looked at the Alces Lake, the first thing we did is we did mineralogy. We wanted to find out where the rare earths occur, and we were surprised to see that all the rare earths occur within one mineral, which is monazite. And basically, the technology to extract rare earths from monazite is well known. It's been out there for 30, 40 years. So the extraction, we think, is going to be relatively easy. The other thing is, you got to have the right rare earths. Some of the 16 rare earths, some are worth more than others. The critical rare earths, the one that I mentioned before, praseodymium and neodymium, basically are they, if we go into production, they would, the 2-3 rare earths would represent about 85% of the dollar value. So this Alces Lake project is blessed because 25% of our rare earths are basically in all this critical rare earths. So that's really good. The other thing is, rare earths usually come in with some radioactivity. There's some uranium and some thorium. So the location of the rare earth deposit is very crucial. Now, we're in Saskatchewan. It's a brownfield. I mentioned before, it's next to Uranium City, where there's a uranium town that produced uranium for 50, 60 years, in the last 50, 60 years. And uranium in Saskatchewan is producing, there's production from Cameco and other mines that produce up to 20% uranium. So they're very familiar with the radioactivity, and they can really manage it. Another area that is important, and I think with Appia we're excited because we've got a solution, is there is the extraction and the processing of rare earths is very specialized, right? So you got to have a facility to a pilot plant. And there's a pilot plant in Saskatchewan that is operated by the Saskatchewan Research Council. It's a government agency that operates that. They've licensed and they've been processing rare earths on a pilot plant scale for the last 10, 15 years. They also have 2-3 engineers from China so they've got the know-how, and we feel comfortable that we can really cooperate and work with them to extract our rare earths. So it's a combination of factors, and why makes this project very exciting. Now, the real question is, you might ask the investors will say, okay, if it's such a good project, why you're trading at 15 cents, right?
Right, and not 1 billion. Was it 1.5?
We're not $1 billion market cap, and that's a good question. We have the grade, we have the right mix of rare earths, we're in the right area, we've got the pilot plant, okay. We're in Canada. The Saskatchewan is the last 5-6 years have been the #1 mining jurisdiction, and we've done enough exploration to see that there's enough high grade there, and there's a lot of potential. What's missing, Jack, is is missing that we've got to establish a resource, the first resource, so we can really demonstrate to the market. They can put pen and paper down that this is a viable, economically viable project that we've got to size. So, and that's what we're working on. We did some exploration recently in last month or two up there again, and we're waiting for results. Like we're actually doing, as I said, we've got some of the zones are right on surface, and we can see the mineralization. We walk on it, and we've drilled, and we come up with a mineralization very close to surface. And last year we tried a gravity survey. We wanted to see if we can really map the underground or near surface to see where the zones are, or some of the other zones are. We had some help, but this year we tried another survey, and we're waiting for results. And we're going to go back in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're planning to go back. We have a drill in place. We have the camp in place. We've got the fuel and all this. So we're going to test. We're going to explore more, because we want to jumpstart this project to the first resource and to a PEA where we can really demonstrate to the market that this is one of the next upcoming projects out there. And that's where I think the big appreciation will be with the shareholders, right? Is that a say?
So the main thing, I guess the takeaway is there's near-term catalysts in place, which could unleash shareholder value, which can have an impact on the stock price.
Yes, we think that the next few months, the next few weeks, the next few months, we're going to have more results. We're going to be drilling more and working with the geophysics also to come up with more results. And I think as soon as we come up with some, if we come up with some really good results, I think the market could change. Like people will look at it and say, this is because there's a lot of people watching. And the other thing is, it's a small company, and a lot of people are not seeing us right now. And one of the reasons that we're happy to work for you to give us this forum here. We want to get more people to keep an eye on us, do their due diligence. We have a lot of information on our website on cdar.com. We've been in business for a while. We don't want to be a promotion story, but we think the next little while will be.
You want to have. I think it's important, if you have something worthwhile, you want to make sure that when you have the news coming out from this exploration program, that there's going to be an audience who it's going to reach, right? So
right,
take action, and the value will be realized in the stock. So the takeaway is, I guess the main thing for investors, if they're not really mining exploration people, the main kind of takeaway is, obviously people should do research, but the main thing is there's a path right now. There's a path forward for creating shareholder value. There's a path which for the you have these catalysts in place. In terms of over the next 3-6 weeks or so, what are some of the things that investors should have their eye on? What kind of things that should they be looking for in terms of?
Jack, I don't know if being in junior mining exploration, there's always risks. I mean, there's all kinds of risks. But what we've done is, as I mentioned, we've done work on this project for the last few years. We've worked there for the last few months, and we are expecting results now from the more sampling that we did, the mapping that we did. We expanded the area that we were looking. We've done geophysics that we were waiting for results. We've got a drill ready, so we think we're going to be coming out with some drill results down the road in the next few weeks or a few months. The other thing I should mention, we're shareholders. Like we own 45% of the stock. Okay, so management have 45% of the shares. So we're definite believers, and we think there's otherwise we wouldn't be there. It doesn't have it has a lot of upside, but when it comes to the junior exploration space, investors make money in different stages. When a company acquires a project, if they don't have a project, that's a milestone. Now we have a project, we've worked on it. As the project progresses, you drill, you come up with new results. There's a new reality, new perception. So usually things, if the results are good, the stock appreciates, right? And that's sort of the first, that's where investors will make money. And then once you get to a resource level, then you basically at a different stage, and you might have different investors, different groups also, because you've got more people that they're thinking about production. And then when you build a mine, it's another situation where people buy shares because they want to get return on the investment. Now there's also another dimension where when a junior company has a very interesting project, other larger companies, they look around and say, here, maybe we'll pick them up, or we'll do a joint venture, or so there's many ways for investors to benefit here.
Yeah, so there's multiple catalysts for upside in the stock.
Right.
Assuming the exploration project goes well over the next 3 to 5 weeks then.
A few weeks, yes.
A few weeks. Okay. So
results will take another few weeks. Like you don't get results day one, right? Just because you drill, we got to send this information, all these assays to the lab, and the lab has to give it back to us and all this. So we do expect news for the balance of the year. Let's put it this way.
Okay. And Tom, so the management owns about 40% of the shares outstanding.
45%, yes.
So you're aligned with the shareholders. Can you talk about your background and some of the some of the key members on the team?
I've been in this business for over 25 years. My background is I did accounting, industrial accounting, and so I worked a little bit in accounting, and then I ended up in real estate. And about 25 years ago, I got bored out of real estate, and I'm still, directly in real estate. And I got into the exploration space, and I did quite well in different projects. And in terms of the management, we've got our combined management experience is over 250 years. This board is in place for a number of years, for over 10 years. And we've got combined industry experience for over 250 years. Our VP of Exploration, James Sykes, is one of the most successful uranium geologists in the Athabasca Basin in Saskatchewan. In the last 10 years, he was involved, directly or indirectly involved, with finding about 500 million pounds of uranium, or involved, so he's one of the most successful geologists out there. So we've got a good technical team, we've got a good management team, like with a lot of experience, and as I mentioned before, we're definitely aligned with the shareholders. I mean, it's that's where we want to see if we can really get this project to the next level, and everybody benefits.
So Tom, so the last question we always ask in these interviews is always, in your opinion, what are the top 3 reasons why investors should consider Appia Energy stock today?
We've got one of the better projects. We have the highest project in North America, one of the highest exploration projects in the world in terms of critical rare earths. Okay, so, and that doesn't happen every day. Like it's one of a kind. We've got the right mineralogy. We've got the right. We were in the right area. We've got the right people, the right management, and the timing is very important. The world needs critical rare earths. The U.S., Canada, they've signed an MOU recently that they're going to cooperate. Canada, everybody in U.S. and the rest of the world is outside of China is pushing for new supplies of critical materials, like technology metals. So we think that there's a tremendous opportunity here if we're successful for shareholders to benefit tremendously. Because as I mentioned before, I mean, our market cap is 10 million. There's MP Materials will have a market cap of $1.5 billion US. Lynas, which is another Australian company, has a market cap of $1 billion US. So I mean, and I'm not saying that overnight we're going to go from 10 million to $1.5 billion market cap. No, it's not going to happen. But at 20% of their market cap, would be like 300 million from 10 million. So that's what excites me. And the other interesting point, Jack, is you got to look at the risk reward, right?
Yeah, always.
I mean, when you're paying 15 cents for a stock, it's more like it's a call on the stock. And old stockbroker once told me that some junior exposure companies are perpetual lottery tickets. So in other words, yes, I mean, there's always risk. You might lose all your investment. Chances are, you might lose half your money. But if you're right, if this thing works out, you might make 100 times your money or 50 times your money. And if you play a few of them, if you play 10 of them and 2 or 3 of them come true, then basically you're ahead of the game. So it's
we're basically in the public venture capital space. I mean, the people, right. Anybody looking at this presentation, anybody looking at these interviews, these are obviously highly speculative stocks. I mean, you could make 10, 20 times your money, like people have made right. In companies that have presented, or you could lose all your money, right? So that's the risk reward, right?
Yeah, right. And they should this should appeal to a certain certain investors, and they should do their homework. Obviously, there's a lot of information, but we're excited because we think we have a one of a kind. We have a unique project, and we have the right timing in terms of the market. We know that the space needs critical technology metals, and it's not only us, experts like, as I said, Jacques Lipton from Technology Metals Research out of Chicago, who also consults for the U.S. government, the Department of Energy and Defense, in that space in the rare earths, and agree with us. That people can do some research and see that. But again, it's an exploration play, and it's an exciting one, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway.
So basically, the next few weeks, you're going to be getting results, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but let's say things go well. What's the upside? 3 weeks from now, let's say you hit I'm not saying like it'll be great results, but let's say you're kind of good. Well, what could be the upside? Is it a double? Is it a 10x? What's the potential upside? We're not saying it's guaranteed. What's the potential?
Jack, if we come up with some good results and start demonstrating that we got a resource there, I think my personal opinion, and without knowing what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, never mind the 3 weeks down the road, but I think 10 times is an understatement. That's my feeling. I'm a big shareholder. I'm the biggest shareholder, and I'm looking for for an upside here, and just if this thing is going to work, it's going to work. I mean, that's the and you have and there's some downside protection because, as I mentioned, we've got a project with a resource huge resource in Ontario. We've got 3 other uranium exploration projects in Saskatchewan. We're looking for high-grade uranium near surface, very close to infrastructure, and we've got Alces Lake, and I think, Jacques, it's not a question of. I don't think if it's going to work. It's just a question of how long it's going to take. But we'd like to do it as fast as possible. We've got to get it to initial stage as fast as possible, and that's the key here. To sort of get it to the point where we can really go in front of funds and professional investors and say, here's the numbers. Okay, here's the sometimes it's a little difficult with rare earths because there's different rare earths, different elements, and different prices, and they vary, uranium and this and that. So last year, this is just to give investors some idea. They shouldn't rely on this because the numbers change. The price of rare earths changed, the price of gold changed. Like we looked at one of our zones that had about 8-9% rare earths, and last year 9% was the equivalent of 1 ounce of gold right on surface.
Okay.
So our average grade, we've got some grades up to 50% rare earths, but our average grades from the drilling and all the information that we have is about 16% rare earths on the project. So there's a lot of upside in terms of investment and potential and shareholders appreciation, but it's an exploration project and people should see it as such.
Always. So Tom, on that note, I want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to following your news. We're expecting some news flow in the coming weeks. Obviously, it'll be on the news. It'll be on the Wall Street Reporter site. So again, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining our live stream.
Thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate it, and I thank you for everybody listening.